Golden buzzer for the boy who sang from his heart, sparkling heart sparkles. The auditorium was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Then, a small boy stepped onto the stage. His shoes were old, scuffed, and a little too big for his feet. His shirt was neatly ironed but clearly worn from countless washes. His eyes, though, carried something no one expected, an ocean of emotions, a quiet fire that spoke louder than any words. He clutched the microphone with trembling hands, and as the spotlight found him, the world seemed to pause. This was not just another audition. For this boy, it was a moment that could change everything. He was not here to show off, not here for fame. He was here to sing from his heart, and the story behind that heart would soon leave an entire nation in tears. The boy's name was Miguel. Born in a small village in the Philippines, he grew up in a house built of wood and tin, where rain leaked through the roof and the nights were filled with the hum of crickets. His father had passed away when Miguel was just 6 years old, leaving his mother to raise him and his younger sister on her own. She worked tirelessly in a local market, selling vegetables and carrying heavy baskets from dawn until sunset. Miguel wanted nothing more than to ease her burden, but he was only a child with nothing to offer except his voice. From a young age, Miguel would hum lullabies to his sister at night. His mother would smile through her exhaustion whenever she heard him sing. Music was the only thing that seemed to heal their pain, if only for a moment. His neighbors often said that the boy had a gift, a rare voice that could touch souls. But for Miguel, singing was not about being gifted, it was about survival. It was about hope. Every morning before school, Miguel would walk to a small hill overlooking the rice fields. There, with the wind brushing against his face, he would sing softly, practicing songs he heard on an old, battered radio. His dream was simple, one day, to sing on a stage where the world could hear him. But dreams in his world often seemed too far away, swallowed by poverty and hardship. One day, while performing at a small community gathering, a man who worked in the city overheard Miguel. Struck by his raw talent, he encouraged Miguel's mother to take him to audition for a major talent competition. At first, she hesitated. Traveling to the city meant money they didn't have, risks they couldn't afford. But Miguel looked at her with eyes filled with both innocence and determination. He said softly, "Mama, let me try. If I sing with all my heart, maybe someone will listen." So with borrowed money and a heart full of prayers, his mother brought him to the city. The journey itself was overwhelming. Tall buildings towered over them, traffic roared like an endless storm, and the boy who once sang to rice fields now stood before a massive stage, bright lights, and cameras pointing at him. When his name was called, Miguel walked nervously to the center. The judges looked at him, some with curiosity, others with doubt. After all, he was just a boy, small and timid, standing alone with no fancy clothes, no backing music, no stage presence. One of the judges even whispered, "Do you think he's ready for this?" But the boy heard none of it. He closed his eyes, held the microphone close, and remembered his mother's tired smile, his sister's laughter, and his father's face from the old photograph on the wall. Then he sang. The first note was soft, fragile, almost like a whisper. But then his voice grew stronger, pouring out pain, love, and hope all at once. It wasn't perfect in the technical sense, but it was real. Every word carried weight, every note carried truth. The audience, who at first had been restless and distracted, now leaned forward, their eyes locked on the boy. His voice seemed to travel beyond the walls of the auditorium, reaching into the hearts of everyone who listened. People began to cry. Some wiped their tears quietly, while others sobbed openly. The judges themselves were visibly moved. One of them placed her hand over her chest, whispering, this is why we do this show." Another judge, usually known for his strict criticism, had tears welling up in his eyes. As Miguel reached the climax of the song, his voice cracked, not from weakness but from emotion. And in that crack, everyone could hear the story of a child who had lost a father, who had seen his mother struggle, who had carried dreams too heavy for his small shoulders. The entire hall erupted in applause even before he finished. And then, something happened that would change Miguel's life forever. One of the judges slammed their hand down on the golden buzzer. Confetti rained from above, golden lights flashed, and the audience leapt to their feet in a standing ovation. Miguel stood frozen, his little hands still gripping the microphone, unsure if this was real. His mother, watching from backstage, burst into tears, her knees giving way as staff members rushed to hold her. She had never seen her son so radiant, so alive. Miguel finally smiled, tears streaming down his cheeks. For once in his life, he wasn't just a poor boy from the village. He was a singer, a storyteller, a child who had turned his pain into music that touched the world. The following days were overwhelming. News outlets covered his audition, clips of his performance spread across social media, and people from around the world sent messages of love and support. They didn't just hear his voice, they heard his heart. But Miguel's journey didn't end with the golden buzzer. Fame brought new challenges. There were expectations, pressures, and even criticisms. Some said he was just lucky, that his story moved people more than his talent. At first, these words hurt him deeply. He doubted himself, wondering if he truly deserved this opportunity. One evening, as he sat alone in his small apartment in the city, he thought of quitting. He missed home, missed the quiet nights with his sister, missed the warmth of his mother's embrace. The lights and cameras felt too heavy, too different from the life he knew. But then, his mother came to him. She sat beside him, holding his hands just as she did when he was a child. "Miguel," she said softly, "you didn't come here to prove anything to anyone. You came here to sing from your heart. And as long as you do that, you will never fail." Those words reignited the fire inside him. Miguel realized that success wasn't about trophies, fame, or even winning the competition. It was about staying true to the reason he started singing, to give hope, to share love, to honor his father's memory, and to lift his family from hardship. With renewed strength, Miguel continued his journey, performing on bigger stages, inspiring millions. He didn't win every competition, but he won something far greater, the love of people around the world, the pride of his community, and the knowledge that he had changed lives through his voice. Years later, when asked what the golden buzzer meant to him, Miguel smiled and said, "It wasn't the confetti or the lights. It was knowing that for the first time, the world heard not just a boy's song, but a boy's heart." And that was the legacy he carried forever, the boy who sang from his heart, and in doing so, reminded the world of the power of music, hope, and love. After the golden buzzer moment, Miguel's life changed in ways he could never have imagined. Overnight, he went from being a boy who sang on a hilltop in his village to a child whose face was known across the country. His performance was replayed millions of times online. People wrote comments about how his song made them cry, how it reminded them of their own struggles, of their own parents working late nights, of their own dreams almost forgotten. Miguel had unknowingly become a mirror for their pain and their hope. But along with the love came challenges. Miguel was still a child, and suddenly he was being pulled into a world filled with cameras, interviews, and endless rehearsals. He missed the simplicity of home, the laughter of his sister when they shared one piece of bread, the way his mother hummed while cooking rice, even the sound of the old radio crackling with static. In the city, everything was fast, loud, and overwhelming. There were moments when Miguel felt like an outsider. Other contestants wore brand new clothes, had stylists to prepare them, and spoke confidently on stage. Miguel, in his hand-me-down shoes and quiet nature, often stood alone. Some kids whispered behind his back, calling him the pity case, or the boy with the sob story. These words stung deeply. Miguel wondered if people loved him only because of his story, not because of his singing. One night, unable to sleep, Miguel slipped out onto the balcony of the small apartment provided by the show organizers. He looked up at the stars, the same stars that hung above his village, and whispered, "Papa, am I really good enough?" It was a prayer more than a question, a desperate plea to the father he had lost so young. In that silence, he remembered the sound of his father's laughter, the way he used to carry him on his shoulders. A memory so vivid it felt like an answer. The next morning, Miguel decided something important. He would no longer sing to prove himself. He would sing for the people he loved, for those who needed hope, for the boy he once was, standing barefoot in the mud with nothing but a dream. The semi-finals approached, and the pressure was immense. Producers wanted a big performance, something with fireworks and dancers. But Miguel politely shook his head. "I just want to sing," he said. "That is enough." At first, they hesitated. Would the audience find it boring? But Miguel's quiet confidence persuaded them. When he walked on stage, the lights dimmed and a single spotlight shone down. No music played, no dancers appeared. Just a boy and a microphone. He began to sing a song dedicated to his mother. The lyrics spoke of sacrifice, of carrying the weight of the world on weary shoulders, of love so deep it could withstand poverty, hunger, and sorrow. Halfway through the performance, the cameras captured Miguel's mother in the audience. Tears streamed down her face, her hands pressed together as if in prayer. The audience followed her gaze and soon, everyone was crying with her. By the final note, Miguel's voice cracked again, filled with the raw truth of his heart. And the hall erupted in thunderous applause. But not everything was easy. Miguel didn't win the competition. The title went to another contestant, someone with dazzling stage presence and a powerful voice. For a moment, disappointment weighed heavily on him. He had dreamed of lifting the trophy, of giving his mother that proud moment of victory. He sat backstage, holding his sister's small hand, trying to hide his sadness. Then his mother knelt beside him and whispered, "Miguel, my son, you have already won. Not because of a trophy, but because of the lives you touched. You sang from your heart, and that is greater than any prize." Those words became his guiding light. Instead of fading away after the competition, Miguel's journey only grew. Invitations came from schools, churches, and charity events. He sang for children in hospitals, for workers in factories, for soldiers far from home. Every time, he sang with the same heart, and people always left with tears in their eyes and hope in their hearts. Years passed. Miguel grew older, but he never let go of where he came from. With the money he earned, he rebuilt his family's small wooden house into a sturdy home. His sister went to school, no longer worrying about whether they could afford books or uniforms. His mother finally rested, no longer needing to carry heavy baskets every day. And yet, Miguel remained humble. Whenever reporters asked about his success, he always said, "I am just a boy who sang from his heart. Nothing more, nothing less." One day, Miguel returned to the hilltop where he used to practice as a child. The fields stretched out before him, golden under the sun, and the wind brushed against his face just like it had years ago. He closed his eyes, lifted his voice, and sang once more, not to an audience, not to cameras, but to the sky, to his father, to the boy he once was. And in that moment, he understood, the golden buzzer had not been the end of his journey. It had been the beginning of a life dedicated to reminding the world that no matter where we come from, no matter how little we have, when we pour our hearts into what we do, we can touch souls and change lives. Glowing star inspiring closing. Miguel's story is not just about music or a golden buzzer. It's about the power of love, resilience, and staying true to oneself. He proved that even the smallest voice can echo loudly when it carries truth. And so, the boy who once sang to rice fields became a man who sang to the world, but always, always from his heart. The story of Miguel teaches us that greatness does not come from perfection, but from honesty, courage, and heart. No matter how small or broken we feel, when we pour our truth into what we do, we can touch lives in ways we never imagined.